Hey guys, so in today's class we're going to run over how to make a basic pizza base. This short class is going to be an introduction to a much broader course that will be released later on in this year. So I hope you guys get something out of the class and learn how to make a basic pizza in your very own home without any expensive equipment. We will have a list of ingredients on the next slide to begin your class, with all the quantities listed there for you so you can make sure that you have everything that you need. Then we're going to jump straight into the physical demonstration and show you the results of what you can do if you have the right guidance. So stay tuned guys, and hope you enjoy. Alright, so we've got our lukewarm water mixed with our yeast and sugar. We're just giving this a little bit of a stir with our fork here. Stir it as much as we can. We want to make sure that combines nicely. The reason we add the sugar and the yeast together and leave the salt separate with the flour is because the sugar is the enemy of the yeast. Not the sugar, sorry, the salt is the enemy of the yeast, where the sugar is going to help feed the yeast and help your bases rise and get the desired result that you want. So this is going to sit for a couple of minutes and then I'll just come back and show you guys how to knead it and mix this in with your flour. Alright, so that water and yeast has been sitting there for about 3 minutes now. So we're going to slowly add this to our flour mixture, bit by bit, because it's going to be easier to knead rather than if we were to add all the water at once. Alright, create a little well in your flour. Just want to slowly add it as you go. So I can add a little bit there. The rest now. So you just want to continue to work this and knead this with your hands. You will notice the dough start to clump on your hands. Don't worry about that. As you work it, this will become less and less. Now you want to work the dough as much as you can within the bowl. Mix that yeast, sugar and flour together as much as you possibly can. Now what we're going to do is we're going to transfer everything onto our bench here. We're going to knead this with our hands. So what you do is you put one palm on the dough, the other behind it, and push forward. Push back, push forward. Try to get everything off your hands. And just keep kneading. As we're doing it by hand, this will take a little bit longer than if you were to use a machine, a RoboCoupe or a specific pizza machine. But this is a lot funner anyway. You don't need to buy any expensive equipment to make pizza. You just need to use a bit of an elbow grease, all right? You want to make this as smooth as possible. You don't want to see any lumps, like floury dough, clumpy lumps in your dough. That's not good. Just keep kneading it, apply a fair amount of pressure. Now I suggest you do this for about 5 minutes. You want to make sure it's all nicely combined in there and as smooth as possible. Now, by adding the warm water, or lukewarm I should say instead of cold, this pizza dough, by all accounts, shouldn't take as long to rise. Now that's what I recommend doing. If you want to get really technical, yeah, it's better to add cold water and let it heat naturally with the room temperature. But if you're short of time, the dough can take quite a while to rise. So if you don't want to be sitting around all day, watching your dough rise and work, it's just adding water that's at least lukewarm. Adding it too warm, so if it's hot to touch, it can kill the yeast. So I wouldn't go anything more than lukewarm. See how smooth that's getting? It's not quite there yet. We want to work it a little bit more. One palm in front of the other, push down, roll it back. Cut it like so. Just tuck it underneath. So now what we're going to do, just going to rub a bit of olive oil on that. This will help keep the pizza nice and moist. Bit of olive oil on the bench there. Give it a rub. Now what we're going to do is we're going to let this dough proof. So you want to let it proof on the bench until that basically doubles in size. When that doubles in size, that's going to indicate that we're ready to start making our bases. The reason we're putting Glad wrap over our dough like so is because as we leave it out, if we were to do it uncovered, the air will get to the outside of the dough and it'll become really crispy on the outside. And as you're folding out your dough, it'll have disgusting little crisp, dry parts to your base, and you want to keep it nice and smooth. So we're going to leave that sit for a couple of hours. All right. Once this is doubled in size, we'll come back and show you guys how to make your bases. All right, so this dough has been proofing for about 2 hours now. It's become nice and beautiful and soft. So we're going to roll this out now with our hands. We don't need a rolling pin for this. We've got a pizza stone here that we've got with a bit of baking paper. This is going to ensure that the pizza dough doesn't stick, okay? So what we're going to do as we're rolling this out is we're going to gently pick this up. A little bit of flour there. The reason we add the flour is so that when we are shaping our dough, okay, this isn't going to stick to the bench and ruin the base that you've just created. So you want to get as much as you can, you don't be shy. And then just work your hands, work the dough into a circle. It doesn't have to be a circle, it can be any shape you want. And that's fine. So what we're going to do now is gently pick this up. place that on our pizza stone. As it's on the stone, if you want to fit it to the stone, just work the dough around like so. Also, you can do just add a bit of oil to your hands and sprinkle that over. That's going to keep the dough nice and moist. And that's it. Okay guys, so now we're going to take our Napolitana sauce, which we made earlier, and just sprinkle that over our base. You don't want a whole lot of Napoli sauce on the base, just enough to coat your pizza. Now it's good that we've put the olive oil all over that, as it is going to keep it nice and moist. It's not going to get all crusty. A lot of people don't put the olive oil over the base and it gets all crusty and dry, floury sort of bits all over your pizza. Alright, so that's plenty of Napolitana sauce. Now pizzas are quite versatile, so you can pretty much use any toppings that you want. Less is often more, and it goes, the less you put in, the better it will generally be. So we're going to sprinkle a little bit of onion here. The cherry tomatoes. We've preheated our oven to 250 degrees Celsius. America, I think that's about 450 degrees Fahrenheit. So you want the oven really hot to get that nice crisp pizza. This will only take about 10 to 15 minutes. Don't overload your pizzas with so much toppings. It's best to just use a little bit. I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of Parmesan cheese. Season this with a little bit of salt, and that's done. So we're going to chuck this in the oven, and we'll come back in about 10 to 15 minutes and show you guys the results. All right, so that's been going for about 15 minutes. Got a nice, beautiful, crisp edge. Our baking paper is preventing that from sticking. Nice, beautiful, thick crust. And you can see here that dough is nice and fluffy. Now notice how the dough there is sagging a little bit in the center. That's because we're using a home oven. If you're using a pizza oven or a wood-fired oven, that's going to stay crisp all the way through. You'll notice how it's nice and crisp on this side here, but as you go down it is a little bit floppy. If you want to prevent that, one thing you can do is maybe fry the pizza base in a pan just really hot before you place it in the oven, but I don't really find it necessary. It's still a beautiful dough. So if you want to prevent that little bit of sagging, you'll need a pizza oven or to pan fry it.